So for those of you that don't know, we have two different networks. We started with our IoT network about 4 or 5 years ago. It is still, I believe, the largest contiguous wireless network in the world for IoT, about 300,000 hotspots. And the IoT network is aimed at connecting machines, sensors. A lot of great use cases include things that need long battery life, long range, things like that. And more recently, the mobile network with the end customer being everybody with a cell phone. So decentralized mobile network. So we're going to talk about both. I do want to start with the Helium Mobile Network first. So what is the Helium Mobile Network? It's the world's largest decentralized Wi-Fi offload infrastructure. That's a mouthful. What it really means is that any deployer or individual can set up their own mini cell tower, whether it's inside or outside. And by building that, our community can build targeted carrier-grade coverage anywhere in the world. And I'll get into a little bit more about how we're doing. We already have offload for two of the major MNOs in the United States, as well as various MVNOs, excuse me. You can think of MNOs, for those who don't know, like the biggest carriers that you would have in your country. MVNOs buy data from them at a wholesale rate and have more of an end relationship with the customer. And then we'll have really exciting news to touch on that came out yesterday about a major carrier in Mexico and how that relationship with Helium is proceeding. And we're always looking to expand globally into more markets. So US and Mexico for now, but we would love to have a carrier in Hong Kong. We would love to have a carrier in Japan. If you want to be involved in getting that started, please let me know. So again, I said that we have a bunch of major MNOs in the US and MVNOs offloading onto Helium. Why do they care about that, right? And the reason is, if you've ever been to like a high density indoor area, could be somewhere like this, could be an airport, could be an indoor bar, downstairs bar. Sometimes you've noticed that the service isn't very good. And for these MNOs, it's very difficult for them to, as a centralized entity, send, a deployer out to every single one of these places, spend money with the hosts. So they don't really have the capacity to do this in the way that we can. It's also for MVNOs, you could think, like Helium Mobile, which I'll talk about in a second, or Boost Mobile, Mint Mobile in the US, these types of carriers, they buy data wholesale from, the AT&Ts, the Verizons of the world. And if they're offloading onto our infrastructure instead, they get a cheaper data rate. So it's very attractive for them to find alternative sources of infrastructure to connect to. And there's zero CapEx. So you can see, just want to give you a couple pictures. Today we have indoor and outdoor Helium hotspots. You literally can deploy them on the wall. They're very cool, fun looking. And both indoor and outdoor version. So how's it going? If you ever want to look at any of the network data, you can go to world.helium.com. It's our new really cool website and visualization mechanism to show where we have coverage around the world. You can see we have 60,000 total mobile hotspots now. And that big growth curve that you saw recently was a new innovation we had, where if you don't want to buy Helium hardware to provide connectivity, you can actually refigure certain Wi-Fi access points with no hardware and start earning tokens in exchange for building mobile coverage. So again, the way the incentive mechanism works is, if you put up a hotspot, you earn just for providing coverage to sort of try and solve that chicken and the egg problem. And you also earn if any of these big mobile operators is sending data through your hotspot. Almost 400,000 users per day via offload in the US, and over 20 terabytes of data on a daily basis. And it's really cool. You could even toggle on and see a real world representation of where data is being transmitted the most. So it's always awesome to go on the Explorer and see the various different places that this is happening. Community centers, fast food chains, sports arenas, airports, all sorts of different use cases. But what's also exciting is that this infrastructure isn't just for helping out the previous incumbents to offload more data. It enables new novel use cases. So this is Helium Mobile, an MVNO started by Nova Labs, who's an operating company who works in the Helium ecosystem. They just a couple weeks ago launched a free cell phone plan in the US. It is literally free. Our goal in the Helium ecosystem is to make your lives touched by crypto, but not have to care about crypto. It's a free cell phone plan. Shouldn't take much more than that to switch, right? Yes. There's also two other tiers of plans. I actually have it in my pocket if anyone wants to see later. Um, Secondly, I want to talk a little bit more about the Movistar case study. So Telefonica has a brand called Movistar. It's the third largest carrier in Mexico with approximately 22 million subs pre and postpaid. Movistar engaged with Nova Labs to test Wi-Fi offload in several geographies and expand their coverage. In 60 days during that pilot, Nova Labs was able, and the community, excuse me, not Nova Labs, but the deployer community was able to put up 300 hotspots in a bunch of areas. And then Movistar ran a test where they had some of their small number of their subscribers use the infrastructure instead of the infrastructure, legacy infrastructure they had used. And you can see here, it was very cool. In that Explorer I just showed you, Movistar and Nova Labs worked together to put on sort of these boosted areas to let deployers know, hey, here's where we want coverage. And in blue, you can see all of the local deployers went out, got some hotspots, put up outdoor hotspots, and basically filled the entire areas. And so the case study ended up being really incredible. So for Telefonica and Movistar, almost half a gigabyte of average daily offload per subscriber per day, almost an hour of connected time. So 1/24th of the entire day was spent on Helium infrastructure, and 4.8 daily hotspots served per subscriber. And I should have updated the slide at the bottom that said soon this pilot will get extended, because actually in the US and Mexico yesterday, we had a huge announcement that due to the success of the pilot, Movistar is going to connect over 2 million subscribers just to start rolling and roaming onto Helium infrastructure. So it's a huge deal for us. You know, I've long believed that DePIN protocols would be the first to touch 100 million real users, not bots that are doing yield farming. And this is a step in the right direction. So, you know, we got 500,000 on Helium Mobile and in the US. Now we add 2 million here. And I think these are the types of case studies at the enterprise level that we need to be able to show. I know this, like 2.5 years of work went in from the Nova Labs team on this relationship, and hopefully we can continue to cut that time down. And then I'd be remiss without ending without talking about the IoT network as well. So again, we've had some amazing things happen on the IoT side. 100 different organizations, 2.5 million data packets are sent daily over the Helium network. So you can think of sensors like use cases like waste management, right? Making sure when trash cans are full, when they need to be emptied, flood detection, huge use cases around asset tracking and agriculture. And so it's been really amazing. I mean, there's 300,000 hotspots providing coverage all over the world right now. If you were to permissionlessly open a sensor, probably in Hong Kong, you would have connectivity on the spot. And you could see these IoT in many ways has the most exciting use cases to me. So we have a company named Green Metrics that is working with the city of Portugal on flood detection. So they have a bunch of flood detection sensors all over the place. On the right, actually, you know, unfortunately, there were the huge LA wildfires. If you saw them recently in the news, one day the park rangers were trying to control the fires, and it turned out some company I had never even heard of called Torch Sensors was just out there with Helium IoT connected wildfire smoke detectors, and they just started giving them to the park rangers. So we're now in contact with them, but it's just so cool to see these use cases pop up out of nowhere. And then we also love the concept of interoperability in the real physical world in the DePIN space. So if you're familiar, there's a company called Demo. They're doing decentralized mobility services, connecting cars on chain. And one of their devices that you plug in actually runs on the Helium IoT network. So they were able to get a cheaper data uplink and downlink cost than going with a traditional, NB-IoT character. So we're a carrier, excuse me. So we're always looking to do more stuff with other projects in the DePIN space, whether that's co-location on the supply side or real physical integrations on the demand side. The man you're going to hear from next. I talk about the wireless mobile network in terms of connecting, 7 billion, 8 billion phones around the world, but our target customer might be in the future, might be standing right there. So robots are going to need connectivity too, something to think about. So again, if you want to take a screenshot to get involved in Mexico, I think what makes that really exciting for deployers is you don't have to be uncertain about the fact that demand is going to be flowing through these radios in the 300 locations that they're providing us. You put a radio up, you'll earn for having it up there, and you can bet that millions of subscribers are going to connect to it. And then, yeah, just follow us along. We have an amazing community all across the world. And whether you're just interested, whether you want to deploy, whether you want to learn about having better connectivity, yeah, please follow along. Thank you.